Civil lawsuit filed by the mother of Shanquella Robinson against the State Department and FBI has now been dismissed. Salamandra Robinson was suing for $100 million in damages over claims that investigators were negligent in their probe.
What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. Like, share, subscribe, comment. I did talk about the video, and we're just gonna hop right into it. So today we're not reading the lawsuit. Well, this one involves a lawsuit, but I won't be reading the lawsuit because it doesn't really add anything for real. But it involves a lawsuit. Not reading a lawsuit or talking about basketball. You know, we're getting back to the usual. So today we will be talking about Shanquella Robinson. Now, if you are unfamiliar with Shanquella Robinson was a Charlotte native, who owned a couple businesses, owned a couple boutiques and things of that sort. But she was, I would say, she died in Mexico on a trip with her friends. Now, if you haven't heard of the case, she actually died in 2022, but it's been some updates this week or within the last week, so that's why I'll be talking about it. But this case has been, pretty publicized, just because of all the things going in the video going viral. But we'll talk about that as we get into it. So we finna get into it. So on October 28th, 2022, Shanquella went on a brief vacation to Mexico, accompanied by a friend and 5 other travelers. 3 women on the trip were it was 3 women and 3 men. The 3 men were Khalil Cook, Malik St. Patrick Dyer, Winter Essence Donovan, Alicia Michelle Hyatt, Dejanay Jackson, and Nazir Wiggins. Now, remember, the Hyatt name is going to be important. Alicia, that's a interesting name. And the Dejanay Jackson name going to be important because you're going to see why. So, she went on this trip, and on October 29th, like I said, they left for the trip on the 28th. And October 29th at approximately 2:13 p.m., a physician from the American Medical Center in Cabo was called to attend a resort resident who was experiencing health issues. So, approximately at the same time, Salamandra Robinson, who is Shanquella's mother, and she'll be a big player in this thing, so remember her name, received a call from one of her daughter's travel companions, informing her that her Shanquella had fallen ill and that a doctor was en route to assist her. Now, remember that they told the mother and other people that she had fallen ill. So the doctor arrived, and within an hour, he said he found a female in stable condition, but dehydrated, disoriented, verbally unresponsive, unable to communicate, and appearing to be intoxicated. So the explanation that, obviously this group gave her, that it was she drank a lot of alcohol, so she was just inebriated. And then the doctor recommended that Robinson be admitted to a hospital, but her travel companions insisted that she be treated in the apartment room. And you're about to see why they thought so. So during medical treatment, the doctor then attempted to administer an IV drip. However, Shanquella's condition worsened when he suffered a clonic seizure. Boy, y'all know I can't read on this motherfucker. Around 4:13 p.m., so it was about 2 hours later after the doctor had arrived, or the doctor was called. Or say about a 1 hour. So yeah, so he must have took the doctor a while. And then they said an ambulance was called around 4:20 p.m. after Robinson began having trouble breathing, with her pulse dropping as well. Robinson then suffered a cardiac arrest. After they tried to administer 14 rounds of CPR and then these some words, to her chest, they tried to reestablish venous blood oxygen saturation and blood flow, as well as injecting 5 doses of adrenaline and 6 electric charges from the defibrillator. Obviously, as we were talking about this case, none of that worked, and Shanquella was then declared dead at about 5:57. So you're probably reading this, or at this point, you're probably watching this video and like, so what's the important part? Why is this news? So, like I said, they, obviously, one, they never allowed the girl to be admitted to a hospital. So, treating in the room doesn't give you all the best results, especially, trying to figure out what's wrong with somebody, as well as you're about to see. So, obviously, from the information that the doctor was given, the doctor had concluded that it was alcohol poisoning and it was the cause of death. But, obviously, when stuff like this happen, you usually get autopsy and a coroner report. So on about November 5th, it was a an autopsy from a forensic doctor, somebody that was in Mexico, obviously because her body was in Mexico. The autopsy reported described Robinson's death 15 minutes after suffering a severe spinal cord injury and an atlas luxation, which is a dislocation or a separation of the skull base from the atlas bone, the first bone of the neck. So obviously, what they're saying, in in a less complex way, is that she had a broken neck. And obviously, as we all know, just common knowledge, broken neck, leads to death a lot of times. So that's pretty much, that tells you why her, she was having trouble breathing, as well as it tells you why she was, unresponsive and couldn't talk. Um, yeah. So then now the question is, your next question is probably, why do you think, why is her neck broken? How do you go from alcohol poisoning to somebody's neck being broken? Obviously, we know how we got to the alcohol poisoning. This is how we got to her neck being broken. So obviously, with this coming, your family, and you just die in another country, something like this, especially when you're going with people you supposedly call your friends. Obviously, your family is going to look into this and probably feel a little ways about it, especially after you get the coroner's report saying that it wasn't alcohol poisoning. So, and on top of the alcohol poisoning shit, before I get into it, the alcohol poisoning shit was such a terrible reasoning, because I've never been out the country. I'll say so myself, but I have heard about how the difference in alcohol when you go in different countries. And actually, I had some Japanese liquor, and that shit is way smoother than any American liquor I have. It don't make you do that. Like, that bitch damn near, you got a slight alcohol taste, but that shit damn near like water. Like, that shit damn near like water. But I have heard about the differences in the alcohol, and we also know that in America, a lot of our shit is unnatural GMOs and shit. That's referring to food and shit. But a lot of our shit is unnatural, so I doubt you will, get real bad alcohol poisoning in another country unless you just over fucking do it. But getting into her breaking her neck. So finally, after claiming that first she was alcohol poisoning, it says a few days later they finally admitted there had been a fight and that she was fighting and had been jumped. So we actually had a video go viral for this, so I will put that in here.
Quilla, can you at least fight back?
No. What's your problem?
At least something. At least fight back, something.
Get up, bro. Get up. Yeah.
I don't know. I have to look into YouTube guidelines about how they feel about fighting and things of that sort. So it might be blurred a little bit, but if not, it'll be in here. But you're going to see the fight video, and you're also going to see that she was, how in the fight that she was very defenseless. And her positioning, you can really see how her neck got broke, because at some point she's sitting on the floor and then somebody's just tagging the back of her neck like this. So if somebody just, keep hitting your neck with that much force while you're in a bad position, obviously the broken neck injury is not, impossible. And you also hear somebody saying, telling her to fight back in the back of the video, a male, and she says no. So that should tell you a lot. It also should tell you how she was feeling at the moment, and that's probably was one of her last words she said, because, like I said, they already said she was now unresponsive once the doctor got there. So that's probably one of the last words she ever said in her life, which is very sad. So now we can get into, like I said, more of the family doubt and the conflicting accounts. Obviously, I just told you how, she got the broken neck, but there was a lot of other details that was conflicting and them trying to hide their story. So at first, they had lied about how they found her. Obviously, they said they found her unconscious and things by somebody else or a doctor. And obviously that wasn't true, as we've seen the video. So it looks like, obviously the video's not going to have, unless it was like a camera footage or something. Obviously, this is a video recorded off somebody's phone once you see it. So the video is obviously not going to have a timestamp on it. But looking at the time of day and things of that sort, probably the doctor got called right after that video, and her mother right after that video. They probably, obviously, they beat the woman so bad that she probably soon after that video fell into the state that she was in, and that's what would force him to call the mother and the doctor. And yeah, So, and then somebody else said that she was found unconscious on the floor. Somebody said they found her in her bed, and another one said they told her father, Bernard Robinson, they had found her in a chair. So obviously, when you have conflicting accounts like this, somebody's lying. Not even saying that one of them is telling the truth, but when you have three people telling a different story, all three is probably lying about what actually happened. And I think it's very obvious what actually happened once you see the video. But so that's pretty much all of the incident that was specific, right then and there. So what we getting updates in the past week. So obviously from all this, and you'll be shocked to hear that especially when you is laid out like this, that nobody has been criminally charged for Shanquella's death. And so this prompted her mother to file a civil wrongful lawsuit, and she filed against a couple people. She filed against the FBI, which that one was just dismissed, and the State Department. Both of them have been dismissed, but her wrongful death lawsuits against the people have not been dismissed yet. So, like I said, I'm not going to read, usually I read into lawsuits and things like that. This one doesn't really need much reading into because I have just laid out all the details of what happened before you, and it's not, and the misleading accounts and the information wrong to the doctor, and maybe, a little bit more of the doctor's not doing it's just diligence a little bit more. But that has been dismissed now. She also, like I said, has a court. She also has filed this civil lawsuit against some of the people there. Hyatt was one of them, and then, like I said, Dejanay Jackson was one of them. Now, the reason I said remember Dejanay Jackson's name specifically is because Dejanay Jackson has changed her name to Imani Green. Now, we don't know the reasoning behind why she changed her name, but I have my speculations. But I'll get into that about in a couple seconds. So, okay, so the update this week is that filed Dejanay Jackson, or now Monty Green, filed her response with the courts on June 18th. Representing herself, Green claimed the original complaint was served to someone else at an address she did not live at, and that by the time she was served, the statute of limitations had passed, and that she's also denying the allegations of wrongful death, simple battery, negligence, civil conspiracy, intentional infliction of emotional stress, and negligent inflection of emotional distress. So basically, in a simplest term, she is trying to get the case against her dismissed. And yeah, so I think the reason she might have changed her name because one, they are calling the people the Cabo Six. This has been a running name going with it. Now, I think she has changed her name for the simple fact of she, her name is now known out there. I mean, at least people keeping up with the case, and probably North Carolinians. I mean, it's been very publicized all over the country, but definitely North Carolinians because she is from Charlotte. They know the name, and that name has a bad taste in people's mouths. So obviously, that's why I feel like she changed her name, because it's just a very interesting timing that you change your name and then you file for it to get dismissed. So yeah. But that's really that's the update. That's the update this week. Her trying to dismiss it, as well as the case, the judge partially dismissing against the FBI and State Department, which, in my personal opinion, I do understand why the judge may have dismissed it against the FBI and the State Department, is because what did the FBI and the State Department do wrong at this point? Like, you can't really prove that the FBI and State Department did anything wrong because, one, she was out of the country. Two, it's like how much, you got the video and now we have a fight, but how much can you really gain? How much can you prove from all the evidence that we have collected? Because what fucks it up is that they called a doctor, and the doctor, the doctor allowed them not to get her admitted to the hospital, even though they recommended it. And that's what fucks it up. If they had been able to somehow, that I think it's more on the doctor than me. I mean, obviously it's on the people there because they inflicted the damage, but I do think like if she was going to file something, it would be more on the doctor, in my personal opinion, because I feel like the doctor should have did more of his due diligence in getting her and like stressing the fact that nigga, we got to get her to a hospital, this, and that. Because honestly, if the doctor does stress that fact, and somehow the doctor does, because obviously, let's be honest, the reason that they were stressing she need to be treated because obviously if they took her to the hospital, they would have figured out the real injury. They would have figured out equally, they would have figured out very fast that she was not suffering from alcohol poisoning and that her neck was broke. So that's obviously why they were trying to cover up. But I still feel the doctor could have did more and like, nigga, we need to get her to do this, and that because I can't do nothing for her right here. But I mean, shit, what can we? I mean, can't do nothing now. She's sadly she's passed away, but that's who I feel like is more at fault than the FBI and the State Department. And that's just my personal opinion. But I think it's very sad to see that no one has been criminally charged in this case yet. I don't. Obviously, it's been 3 years now. It's been 3 years now. I was about to say 2, but it's been 3 years. We're in 2025, so obviously for murder and things of that sort, that doesn't have a statute of limitations, so they could definitely get charged still at any point of their life. But I just don't know how easy it is to gain evidence that, especially when the scene of the crime is in another country, and a lot of stuff was being covered up, and then it wasn't really revealed to after she died. Like, so I don't know. I don't think it's a very easy investigation for the police. So this is why I don't think anybody's been criminally charged. But I feel like it's not a good investigation as gaining a lot of evidence to get them convicted is what I mean, because I do think it's very obvious in the layout that that fight that went viral caused her to get that injury that ended up causing her death. So yeah, it's a very sad story. I do hope that her mother is able to get justice in some kind of way, civil suit, or maybe somebody finally gets criminally charged. But we won't know until it happens. But that's all I got to say though. Like, share, subscribe, comment. I just did that bottom video, and we out.